Planet of Broken Promises. They never told me which promise I had broken. Only the sentence arrived. A metallic capsule, silent as a held breath, swallowed me from the world I once called home. My wrists and ankles, trapped in luminescent cuffs, pulsed with a faint warning glow. The guards refused to meet my eyes. Their silence weighed more heavily than any accusation. The capsule detached, a violent shudder. Gravity peeled away like a discarded skin. Through the small porthole, I watched Earth shrink into a blue tear in the void. It felt like falling upward. My name, once spoken with warmth, now existed only on a list of the condemned. A shadowy council had ruled that I belonged here, on a distant world where broken vows were not forgotten, but sentenced. Planet ad mortem. Prison of promises. The descent burned. Fire streaked across the hull like screaming comets. My heart hammered against bone while the ship cut through an atmosphere painted in bruised purples and fading gold. Impact. Dust rose. Silence returned. The capsule split open with a hiss, releasing me into the stinging air. The soil shimmered like shattered glass, each fragment reflecting faces that weren't mine. A lone figure approached. Their robe fluttered in the wind, woven from threads that looked suspiciously like regret itself. A porcelain mask hid their expression, yet I felt judged by the empty gaze. "State your broken promise," they demanded, voice cold and ceremonial. "I don't know," I whispered. Their head tilted. "No one arrives here innocent." They extended a hand, and the cuffs dissolved into smoke. On my forearm, I expected a brand, a mark of guilt. Every prisoner was branded with a symbol, an emblem of the promise they had shattered. I looked. My skin was bare. The figure froze. Even the wind seemed to halt. "No mark!" They stepped back, the mask trembling. "Impossible!" I wanted to ask what that meant, but the ground beneath us groaned. Black fissures crawled through the shimmering earth, like ink searching for a page to stain. A harsh whisper slithered from the cracks. "Fulfill it." The robed figure recoiled. "Your promise is not broken. It is unfinished." Their fear tasted like electricity in the air. Before I could speak, a horn howled across the wasteland, summoning exiles to some unknown judgment. The figure hurried away, leaving me alone with a sky stitched in scars. Above, the stars flickered, as if they remembered something I couldn't. Yet.
Night arrived too quickly, as if the planet disliked the light. I walked toward the horn's call. Jagged silhouettes appeared through the violet mist, structures carved from colossal bones. They loomed like monuments to forgotten regrets. A settlement. Exiles gathered around a towering obelisk, its surface etched with pulsing runes. Some wore armor of rusted metal, others cloaks stitched from maps of places they would never return to. Every one of them bore a mark on their skin, symbols glowing faintly like dying stars. One man's mark resembled a broken ring. He caught me staring. "Betrayed my wife," he grunted. "She never forgave me, so this place won't either." Another prisoner, her eyes hollow as the moon's underside, bore a mark of a shattered crown. "I promised my daughter she would be queen," she murmured. "She died before her coronation. My failure lives on." Each story, a scar that never healed. A tremor rippled through the crowd as a group of armored figures approached, their helmets shaped like sealed envelopes. their chests emblazoned with a symbol, a closed circle. The Oath Keepers, guardians of punishment, watchers of regret. Their leader stepped forward, taller than the others. His armor reflected the pain of every soul present. He spoke without raising his voice, yet the air bowed before him. Another arrival stands among us. Dozens of eyes turned to me. State your broken promise, he commanded. I told you, I don't know what promise they say I broke. Whispers hissed like steam. The Oathkeeper grabbed my arm, fingers cold as betrayal. He stared at my unmarked skin. No brand. His visor angled closer. Your promise was not broken yet. Gasps echoed. A woman spat at my feet. Dangerous. The unfinished ones accursed. A child cowered behind her father. They bring storms, he whispered. Storms? The Oathkeeper released me sharply as if burnt. You will be watched, he declared. One unkept promise can destroy worlds. The crowd stepped back, leaving me alone in a circle of fear. Loneliness pressed against my ribs like an unwelcome truth. If I truly had a promise left to fulfill, what was it? Who was waiting for me to keep it? A hand tapped my shoulder. A young boy, maybe 12, stood there, his eyes too old for his face. His mark glowed like a half-finished star. You shouldn't be alone, he said. That's when the planet listens. The planet? I asked. He nodded. Ad mortem feeds on broken words. If you're not careful, your own thoughts can betray you. He pointed at the sky. Black stars flickered, blinking like watchful eyes. This world remembers every vow ever made, even the ones you tried to forget. A chill crawled up my spine. The obelisk behind us hummed with a low vibration. The runes rearranged, forming new shapes. 2 words emerged. Promise pending. The Oathkeepers flinched. No one spoke. No one dared breathe. The runes pulsed again, brighter, louder, until the obelisk itself seemed to speak. You will finish it. My knees weakened. Somewhere in my lost memories, someone waited. Someone counting on me. The boy tugged at my hand. Come, the night here doesn't always end. We walked toward a crooked shelter as the wind carried a shiver through the settlement. Behind us, the obelisk continued glowing in a single, damning message. Promise pending. Like a heartbeat. Like a threat. Like destiny sharpening its teeth.
The boy's shelter leaned like a wounded animal against a cluster of dark crystal pillars. Inside, dim, bioluminescent moss clung to the walls, casting an uneasy green glow over his small living space. A blanket stitched from old oath papers lay on the ground. "This is home?" I asked. "For now," he replied. "No one stays in one place too long. The planet hates permanence." He offered me a seat, though his eyes never stopped flicking toward the creaking walls as if listening for something invisible creeping closer. "What's your name?" I asked. His lips tightened. "My name is what I broke," he said. "I promised my sister I'd protect her. She didn't survive the journey here." His half-finished star mark pulsed faintly, like a wound trying to heal, only to split open again. "Does everyone lose someone before arriving?" I whispered. The boy nodded. "Or they lose themselves." Wind scraped across the shelter. Nails screeched. The boy's shoulders tensed. "You should check your arm again,"
he murmured. I frowned and pulled back my sleeve. Bare skin greeted me. No mark. It will come, he insisted. The oath scar always comes. The oath keepers said my promise isn't broken. Why would a scar appear? He hesitated, fingers trembling. Because this place doesn't care what you believe, only what you fear. The ground outside rumbled. Crystal pillars flickered like nervous fireflies. A voice, like a whisper torn apart by static, slithered through the air. Fulfill it. The boy pressed his palms to his ears. Don't listen to it. It can twist your truth. Sweat chilled my back. What is it? The planet, he breathed. It crawls into your regrets. Then, something in the corner of my vision shifted. A faint glow emerged beneath the skin of my wrist. A line, thin as a paper cut, yet burning like betrayal. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. No, I croaked. I haven't broken anything. The boy stared, eyes wide and shining. That's not a broken mark, he whispered. It's a forming one. The line extended, branching like a growing crack. A symbol slowly took shape. It hurt, not like a wound, like a memory resurfacing from drowning. Pain flashed, images scattered like shattered glass. A hand letting go, tears choking a final plea, a promise spoken in desperation, a name swallowed by guilt. I fell to my knees. Who was I promising? The boy knelt beside me. Admertem holds the answer, but answers here demand payment. The mark glowed brighter, not a brand of what I broke, a prophecy of what I must face. Outside, the sky tore open as a black star fell, trailing sorrow like ash. Screams erupted from the settlement. The boy grabbed my arm. They're coming. Who? He shivered. The ones who failed to keep their promises. The planet doesn't let them rest. The shelter door cracked. Shadows poured inside. Hands made of mourning reached for us. I tried to run. The voice followed. Fulfill it. Before the promise scars everything you love. I turned back. The mark on my forearm pulsed like a heartbeat. Counting down. Or maybe warning me. As if a single, unkept promise could doom an entire world.
Night tore itself apart. Shadows stormed through the settlement, not as spirits, but as consequences. Their forms shifted, glitching like corrupted memories. They screeched with the agony of 1,000 broken vows. Wails of exiles filled the air. The boy clutched my hand. Just run! We sprinted through twisting alleys carved from bone and crystal. Screams chased us like wildfire. Every shadow clawed at my mind, whispering, "You promised. You promised." One cut my ankle. Cold. Too cold. I kicked free, but its touch left a bruise shaped like a question. We dove behind a fallen pillar. The mark on my arm burned brighter, spreading tendrils of light beneath my skin. "Why me?" I gasped. The boy's breath shook. Unfinished promises attract the darkest things. They hunger for closure. A roar split the air. I looked up. The sky, once only cracked, was now breaking open.
Black stars shattered like glass bulbs. Cosmic dust rained down, each grain a forgotten oath. They smoldered where they touched the ground, forming runes that squirmed like living wounds. "The stars!" I whispered. "They fall whenever someone's promise dies here," the boy said. "This is how the planet grows." "What happens when too many fall?" He swallowed. "No one survives a star storm." The Oath Keepers charged into the chaos, shields raised high, voices booming ritual commands. "Contain the guilt! Seal the regrets!" They hacked at shadows that bled silence. Every swing unleashed memories. Weddings abandoned, promises whispered in vain. Love turned to dust. The air tasted like old heartbreak. One Oath Keeper noticed me. His visor reflected the mark blazing on my arm. His voice cracked inside his helmet. "Your promise awakens the sky." The planet trembled under our feet. Cracks widened. Purple lightning shot upward like reverse thunder. The boy pulled harder. "We need to hide deeper." "Deeper where?" He pointed toward the horizon. Beyond the last settlement wall, a colossal monolith pierced the clouds, a lighthouse of guilt. "The archive," he said. "It keeps the truth of every promise ever made." The shadows shrieked louder, sensing their prey fleeing. We ran, stumbling across a landscape stitched from shattered oaths. Behind us, the settlement was swallowed in starfire. The boy glanced once over his shoulder, tears catching neon light. "He broke one promise. This is what it cost." The sky convulsed. Black constellations rearranged themselves, forming a single dreadful symbol. "Your promise decides our fate." My lungs seized. "What promise could possibly?" A thunderous voice, neither male nor female, spoke from everywhere at once. "You vowed to protect a heart greater than your own." The boy stared up at me in awe. "You're not just any exile." I wanted to deny it. I wanted to scream I was ordinary. Then the mark on my arm completed itself. A shape of two intertwined rings. Unbroken, but unstable. A promise of protection. Someone who mattered more than me. Someone still alive. Lightning struck the archive, opening a door of light. The ground tilted. The choice was simple, brutal. Run toward the truth, or die under a sky tired of waiting. The boy squeezed my hand. "Keep your promise," he said, "before the stars decide we don't deserve tomorrow."
The archive rose like a cathedral built from sorrow itself. Its colossal walls appeared stitched from memories carved into crystal plates. Every surface shimmered with the weight of words once spoken, now fossilized. At its peak burned a black flame, flickering as if alive. The boy and I approached the yawning entrance. A swarm of whispers fluttered past, each a broken sentence, each a confession too fragile to remain whole. Inside, the hall stretched endlessly, lined with towering shelves of floating tablets. Each tablet pulsed with a name and a promise that crushed it. A lone figure glided between the aisles, not walking, sliding, as if their feet had forgotten gravity. Their cloak rustled like paper dipped in tears. They carried no face, only a mask forged from melted vows. When they spoke, their voice sounded like quills scraping bone. "I am the archivist of sins," they said, "minder of oaths, warden of truth." They hovered in front of me. "Show me your mark." The boy stepped defensively between us, but the archivist's gaze pierced straight through him. "It is not you who interests this world. they hissed softly. "It is the promise he has yet to keep." I rolled back my sleeve. The intertwined rings burned brighter. Symbols spiraled outward like veins growing across my skin. The archivist trembled. "No wonder the sky bleeds. You made a promise to save someone who cannot survive without you." My throat dried. "Who?" The archivist's head tilted. "You loved them enough to defy fate. You swore to protect them when all others abandon hope." A name balanced on the tip of my tongue, then slipped away like smoke. "I can't remember." "That is not a flaw," the archivist whispered. "It is punishment." A tablet flew from a nearby shelf, stopping inches before my eyes. Its surface flickered, revealing fragmented scenes. A hospital room bathed in cold light. A hand clutching mine. A voice pleading, "Don't leave me. Promise." My heart lurched. Someone fragile. Someone I couldn't protect. Someone still waiting. The archivist pressed a finger to the tablet. It cracked. "Your fulfilled vow could save a soul. Your failure could erase countless lives." The boy's voice wavered. "Why so much responsibility for one promise?" The archivist turned to him. "Because some hearts hold the balance of many." Thunder boomed above as another star crashed outside. The archivist drew closer. "You are here because your promise is still alive, and the one you vowed to protect is running out of time." A pulse surged down my arm. The rings on my skin tightened like shackles. The archivist's whisper seeped into my bones. "You must remember before the planet forces remembrance upon you." She raised a hand, and the archive shifted. Shelves twisted like serpents. Tablets shattered into motes of light that fused into a doorway carved from pure memory. Beyond it, I glimpsed a figure sitting alone on a hospital bed, skin pale as moonlight. Their lips moved silently. Only one word reached me. "Please." My heart cracked under the weight of recognition trying to break free. The archivist's tone sharpened. "Go, learn what you dared forget." The doorway yawned wider, pulse quickening like a countdown. The boy tugged my sleeve, frightened. "What if you don't come back?" The sky outside screamed. "Then this world and the one you left behind will both drown in the same broken promise." The doorway swallowed me whole. Memory rushed forward like a tidal wave, and the name I lost was finally coming for me. The world dissolved into memory. White tiles, disinfectant scent, machines humming like tired bees. I stood in a hospital room, frozen in time. A girl lay in the bed, chest rising shallowly, skin translucent under the glow of monitors. Her hair spilled over the pillow like strands of midnight. Her fingers, they looked so small, wrapped around mine. My breath caught on her name. Evelyn? The word tasted like grief rediscovered. Tears blurred the edges of the moment. I reached to touch her cheek, but my hand passed through. I was here, but not here. A phantom of my own past. Her voice fractured the silence, thin as cracked glass. "You promised you wouldn't leave." I saw my past self beside the bed, a version of me with brighter eyes, less guilt, a man clinging to hope with trembling knuckles. Present me whispered, broken, "I came back. I'm trying." The memory played on, merciless. Doctors rushed in, panic etched on their faces. Monitors screamed betrayal. My past self shouted her name. His promises drowned under alarms that didn't care. She was dying. Her eyes found his, found mine. "Stay," she begged. "Promise." He nodded, tears falling like surrendered stars. "I promise. I'll never leave you." Silence swallowed the room. The line flatlined. Hope stopped breathing. The memory cracked into a million knives. I fell to the floor, choking. I didn't leave her. I didn't. The air around me warped. "You did," a voice replied. "You lived." The archivist stepped from the darkness, mask glimmering like grave polished clean. "You survived. She did not. The promise remained unkept." "I couldn't save her," my voice tore itself raw. "Yet your vow still binds," the archivist hissed. "She lives on the brink, not dead, not alive, suspended between worlds by the weight of your words." A figure formed in the shadows, a silhouette reaching toward me, fingers trembling like leaves caught in their last autumn. "Evelyn." "Don't leave me." Her whisper felt like a hand tightening around my heart. The archivist circled. "Your promise anchors her soul. That is why you were sent here, not as punishment, as restoration." I staggered upright. "What must I do?" The archivist pointed at my mark. The intertwined rings flared, then split apart, chains cracking. "Save her," they said, "before your hesitation becomes a broken vow, before this planet feeds on her hope." The room erupted into violet dust. The hospital faded. Evelyn's hand slipped away like dawn from a dream. I screamed her name. The archive returned in a violent shudder. The boy was at my side, shaking me back into now. He asked, "What did you see?" "My promise, my reason, my failure." Above, a massive rupture tore across the sky. Stars bled sparks like burning regrets. The ground heaved. The archivist's voice boomed like a verdict. "Fulfill the vow. Bring her soul here. Unite the worlds." The mark on my skin surged. A clock started ticking, not in seconds, in heartbeats. The boy stared wide-eyed. "If we don't reach her in time—" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The universe would. I clenched my fist, feeling Evelyn's fading warmth lingering in my veins. "I will save her." Lightning carved the horizon open. For the first time since I arrived, a Dortum whispered something new. "Keep it." And the stars, once threatening, now waited for me to prove that a promise can still save a life, even after death begins to claim it. The streets of New Arkaida groaned beneath the weight of shadows. Elen felt the entire planet watching her, every reflective surface a silent witness. Her pulse matched the hum of the city's magnetic rails. No more hiding. Kai's tablet pulsed with that impossible symbol, the same pattern carved into ancient ruins, the same one embedded in the mirrors of memory. Kai frowned at her. "We shouldn't be out here." "I said someone unlocked the file, someone who knows your father's name." They ducked into a narrow side passage between giant hollow billboards. Digital rainfall cascaded down surfaces, flickering with false cheer. The further they slipped from the main avenue, the colder the air became. At the end stood a door made of black stone, absurdly ancient in a city built from light. It opened for them. Inside, torches glowed with silver fire. A semicircle of figures awaited. Their robes shimmered like liquid glass, faces exposed, no masks. Their eyes were mirrors themselves. A woman stepped forward. "We have waited centuries for the one who carries the unkept promise." Elen's throat tightened. "I don't understand." "You will," she answered softly. "You were the last child born on Earth before the evacuation. Your mother promised you a world that would never forget its past. That promise was broken, like all others here. Yet you survived. That makes you a fracture in fate." Kai stepped in front of Elen protectively. "This symbol," he demanded, showing the tablet. "Why was my father searching for it?" At the mention, several figures gasped, hands trembling. "Arkaida, the scientist who discovered our truth?" Kai stumbled. "My father is alive?" Her mirrored eyes dimmed. "Alive, but a prisoner of the ones who dominate perception." Elen's voice wavered. "The Mirror Syndicate?" The woman nodded. "They control every broken promise. They feed on them. Every betrayal, every abandoned dream gives them power. Your arrival disrupts that cycle." Elen shook her head. "I'm no hero." "You misunderstand," she replied, stepping closer. "A hero creates hope. You destroy it. You break what must be broken." The room's temperature plummeted. Shadows curled like ink around Elen's boots. The torches flickered violently. Kai grabbed her hand. "Stop," he breathed. "They're trying to—" An enormous mirror at the back of the chamber rippled like water. From inside, a figure stepped out, clad in obsidian armor, head held high. The leader of the Mirror Syndicate. His voice crackled like glass grinding. "You belong to us, Elen Arkaida." She tried to step backward. Her legs refused. The mirror behind the leader pulsed, warping her reflection into something monstrous. Kai raised his weapon. His voice croaked with fear. "Stay away from her!" The armored figure tilted his head. His visor peeled open. Kai froze, because the face inside was his father's. Arkaida smiled gently at his son. "There are no heroes here, only promises begging to be shattered." Elen's heart screamed. Kai's weapon clattered to the floor. His father reached out. "Come home, Kai." Elen felt the floor dissolve beneath her reality. The woman with mirrored eyes spoke again, barely audible through her trembling. "The Syndicate has already won." Elen refused that idea. "No, not yet." She clenched her fists. Something inside her cracked open, like a seal on a forbidden truth. The torches extinguished. Only Elen's eyes glowed in the dark, and the darkness listened.
Silence crushed the chamber. A silence so heavy it threatened to suffocate thought itself. Elen stood motionless. Every cell of her body quivered as that new power surged like a storm looking for a sky to break. Darkness surrounded them, but she could still sense every heartbeat, every breath, every lie. Arkaid's voice slid through the dark. "Do you feel it now, Elen? This planet is made of broken vows. You are their nexus." Kai's whisper shivered. "Dad, why are you doing this?" Light flickered. A single shard illuminated Aras's face. His once warm eyes glinted with metallic coldness. "I gave humanity a future,
They repaid me by shattering it. All I do now is collect the pieces." Elen's pulse thundered in her ears. "You want to control memory, control truth, control meaning," he corrected gently. "Without me, the people drown in forgotten promises and chaos. With me, they surrender their pain. By stealing their hope, hope breeds disappointment. Disappointment feeds us. The cycle must be complete." Elen tasted iron in her mouth, rage or fear, she couldn't tell. "That's not survival, that's parasitism." Somewhere in the dark, Kai flinched. A low electric growl rippled through the chamber. Aris regarded her like a scientist observing a new organism. "You survived a planet's death. You endured humanity's ultimate abandonment. You were shaped to be ours." Elen's nails dug into her palms until he drew blood. "I wasn't shaped. I chose." The air crackled. A roaring sound rose behind her. Something primal, something old. The mirrors of memory vibrated like entire histories trembling. Kai struggled to move toward her. "Elen, stop. They want you to lose control." His voice steadied her trembling. She exhaled slowly, fighting the power gnawing at its restraints inside her. The silver flames returned, dim but determined. Shapes resolved in the darkness. The mirrored robed figures had knelt, terrified. Aris John stood unflinching. "You deny what you are. You deny the fate written in promises long broken." Elen stepped forward. Each footfall cracked the floor like thin ice. "What if I rewrite them?" Aris lifted his hand. The mirror behind him erupted outward. Shards hung in the air like stars frozen mid-collapse. "You rewrite a promise. You rewrite the universe." A tidal wave of memory rushed at her. Billions of forgotten whispers, loved ones left behind, oaths abandoned, tears discarded. Voices of entire civilizations calling her name. Kai lunged and grabbed her wrist, grounding her. The memories receded enough for breath to return. "We escape. Right now," he gasped. Aris's visor slid back down. "You cannot run from what you are." Kai aimed his device at the nearest exit panel. The door exploded open with a burst of sparks. They sprinted through the cascading debris, lungs burning. Behind them, Aris John's voice echoed like a prophecy etched in steel. "You will come back to us, Elen Arkaida, when your last promise breaks." A transport rail shimmered ahead. Kai smashed the controls. The pod hissed open. They threw themselves inside as alarms screamed from every surface across the city. The pod shot forward, slicing through tunnels like a bullet fired at desperation. Elen leaned against the cold metal, trembling. Kai knelt beside her. "You're not alone," he whispered. Her eyes stayed fixed on her shaking hands. Not alone, yet utterly responsible. The city lights streaked past like shooting stars, refusing to fade. The pod AI spoke in a monotone. "Destination locked. District 0. Origin of the first promise." Elen's chest tightened. Something was waiting there. Something older than betrayal. Something ready to be awakened.
The pod screeched to a halt, steam boiling from its joints like breath from a cornered beast. The doors unsealed with a groan that sounded almost alive. District 0 awaited beyond, silent as a tomb. Elen stepped onto ground that didn't feel like ground at all. The surface beneath her boots shimmered, shifting between metal and memory, a place built from what the world tried to forget. Kai scanned the darkness. There should be a facility here. Mapping says this was the cradle of the memory drive, where the evacuation began. Elen already sensed it, a hum beneath consciousness, an ache in her bones. A single archway rose ahead, carved not from stone, but from countless promises etched into translucent panels. Names, dates, words spoken in love or desperation. Every vow humans ever made before they fled Earth. Kai placed his hand on one. "I'll come back for you." He exhaled shakily. Someone believed this once. Elen's voice came like a fading echo. They all did. That's how this world was born. A low pulse reverberated from deep below. The archway split apart and sank into the ground, revealing a spiral descent lit by ghost-like bioluminescence. The air tasted ancient. They descended. The staircase opened into a vast chamber. In the center hovered a monolith of pure mirror stone, its surface rippling with memory. Circling it were decayed terminals, long-dead interfaces, and bones of forgotten engineers. Kai's eyes widened. This is it, the first promise. Elen approached, and the monolith awakened. A figure formed inside the shifting surface, a woman with sorrow carved into her posture. Elen's mother. Her voice wrapped around Elen like a childhood blanket left in the cold too long. "You were never meant to come here." Elen's breath faltered. "You're not real." No memory is unreal. Every unkept promise becomes a life of its own. Kai stood frozen, uncertainty devouring his voice. The reflection mother stepped forward until her hand almost touched Elen's cheek. "You survived because your promise was stolen. You were destined to remind humanity of what they abandoned, to punish them for forgetting." Elen's throat burned. "I don't want to be their judge." "You don't have a choice." The chamber trembled, lights flickered and died. Something enormous stirred behind the monolith, like a heartbeat cracking stone. Kai grabbed Elen's arm. "We have to shut this down, right now." Elen stared into the mirror mother's eyes and saw a universe collapsing under the weight of disappointment. "Tell me what they were running from," she ordered. The reflection flickered. "Hope," the not mother whispered. "Hope promised what reality could not give. They chose to leave dreams behind rather than keep failing them." The heartbeat grew louder. Walls warped. The chamber morphed into shifting scenes of Earth, oceans drying, cities falling, skies burned by betrayal. Elen felt the power inside her surge again. Not chaos this time, purpose. She turned away from the reflection and faced the core. "We break this cycle. We stop feeding them." Kai nodded, terrified but committed. "How?" Elen reached toward the monolith. "I make one promise." Light exploded outward, so bright time seemed to forget itself. The first promise cracked. The chamber screamed. Every mirror worldwide fractured in unison. Elen's voice rose through the destruction, a vow reshaping gravity. "I will never abandon our future." The monolith shattered into infinite shards of unchained memory. The ground collapsed. Kai yanked Elen close as they plummeted into the screaming abyss below. Their fall swallowed by darkness. Their fate swallowed by silence. The fall felt endless. Time stretched thin, like a thread threatening to snap. Elen clutched Kai's hand as the abyss swallowed them whole. Then, impact. They crashed onto a surface soft as a sigh. The darkness parted into swirling constellations. Not stars, memories. Every broken promise drifting like lost lanterns. Kai groaned. Are we dead? Elen stood. Gravity hesitated around her, unsure how to behave. We are inside the fracture, the moment between truth and forgetting. A pulse of silver light rippled outward. Figures coalesced around them, people made of reflections. Billions, every soul who'd ever been abandoned. Kai stumbled backward. This is what the syndicate feeds on. A low rising hum shook the void. Mirrors snapped into alignment, forming a colossal gateway. Through it marched soldiers clad in obsidian armor. At their head, Aris Gian. He strode forward like a monarch arriving to reclaim a stolen kingdom. You have unleashed a catastrophe, Elen. Without the cycle, all these promises remain awake, hungry. Elen faced him, power coiling behind her ribs. They deserved better than to become fuel for fear. Aris raised his hand. The void shuddered. A towering construct grew behind him, forged from infinite mirrors, a living machine of memory extraction. This was how we survived humanity's collapse. Pain is the only resource that never dries up. Kai's voice cracked. You lost hope, Dad. You let the world break you. Aris regarded his son. For one heartbeat, a father's grief flickered. I believed in humanity. They made me a fool. Elen stepped between them. No, they made you a dreamer. You chose to turn that dream into a knife. Aris's visor peeled open. Angular tears slid down his steel cheeks. You think you can fix what is shattered? Elen's answer came quiet, but the void strained to hear it. No, I can remember what is worth keeping. She opened her palms. All around them, memories flared like sunrise across galaxies. Not just failures, victories, promises kept, love honored, dreams protected. A child waiting at a station and the mother who returned. A friend who kept their word through war. A daughter holding her father's hand and saying, I'm here. The broken promises screamed, but the kept ones sang louder. Kai gasped. You're giving them back their meaning. Aris staggered. Mirrors cracked under the pressure of redemption. His soldiers dissolved into the very hopes they once devoured. Elen advanced slowly. You forgot the other side of a promise. The void glowed like reborn dawn. They aren't meant to protect us from pain. They give us courage to face it. Aris fell to one knee. His armor crumbled like guilt shedding its shell. Kai knelt before him, trembling. Come home, Dad, please. Aris reached out, fingers shaking, a father who once believed in tomorrow. The machine behind him let out a dying roar, collapsing into dust made of forgotten despair. Aris whispered, I promised I would protect you. Kai embraced him. You still can. Light surged upward like a phoenix ignited by memory. Mirrors shattered into harmless glitter. The flood of trapped promises rose skyward, freed to return home. Elen looked upward too, toward a future that desperately needed rebuilding. She turned to Kai and Aris. Let's go. There's a world that needs new promises. A portal opened, not of mirrors, but of possibility. They stepped through. New Arkaida shimmered beneath a sky clearing for the first time in centuries. Screens flickered with messages of reconciliation. Children laughed in the streets, suddenly unburdened by forgotten heartbreaks. Hope didn't feel like a lie anymore. Elen stood at the city's edge, wind brushing against her cheek, as if Earth itself whispered, "Thank you." She made a new promise, silently, to the horizon. "I won't let us forget again." Kai joined her, shoulder to shoulder. "What now?" Elen smiled, soft and dangerous with potential. "We build a future that keeps its word." The planet breathed, and the universe listened.